What's going on, guys? Sumner Healey, the land pioneer, joined by my trusty co-host, Michael Bull, over from the land station. How you doing, Michael?
Good. How are you? Excited to be here.
Good, man. Beautiful, what is it, Wednesday? Sun is shining out here in La Jolla, California.
Just went for a walk. It was 75 degrees out.
Dude,
You can't complain.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's almost November.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's pretty unfair.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, life is good. Things are good. Deals are flowing. Enjoying it. And I think you and I we're talking about dispositions. And for the people that don't know what dispositions are, it's the act of selling a property, right? We kind of divvy up this business into three different categories: acquisitions, operations, dispositions. The business is actually really simple. When you look at it from like kind of compartmentalizing it, it becomes straightforward. What you'll notice though is most of the friction lies in the dispositions.
Right.
And my experience is that's the most difficult side of this business. Acquisitions, I think, is really enjoyable if you like chasing deals. Like, to me, that's really fun. Operations, you can get people in the right seats to handle a lot of the operational stuff. Dispositions, I think there definitely is automation and delegation that can be introduced to it, but at a certain point, you just are dealing with humans in a big numbers, right? Like, the thing about this business is we get a lot of leads. The other thing about this business is there's a lot of unqualified leads. So what we're going to talk about is how the heck do you sell properties? How do you do it consistently? How do you systematize it? Because you can have a great deal, but if you don't know how to market it, if you don't know how to attract buyers, build rapport, build confidence with the buyers, it isn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah. A lot of leads and a lot of first-time land buyer leads, right? So it's a lot of hand-holding, walking them through the process. It's similar to buying a home or a car, but it's still such a far-fetched idea for a lot of people. So it's a lot of making sure that we take them through A to Z and show them each step of the way and build rapport with them along the way, like you're saying.
Yeah, I think there's almost deliberately been confusion cast on the world of real estate, maybe by title companies, maybe by realtors, whatever it may be, where they've created this aura of confusion. Like, closing real estate deals is so complex and so confusing. So I think you're really trying to work through with people the fact that it's actually really not that confusing. It's really not that difficult.
It's not. And there's also a lot of people I found that there's people in this industry that are just like any industry, but they're scammers, right? So they'll go out telling you they're selling a piece of land or telling you they're going to buy your piece of land, and they'll scam you one. So I actually dealt with a buyer yesterday who the last piece of land he tried to buy, he got scammed on it. So he sent the wire to somebody who never ended up selling him the land. He got scammed on it. So he was very weary. Yeah, and rightfully so. You should be weary. So making sure that you have the legitimacy and you build rapport. You need people to trust you when you're selling this land. So
no, totally. That's interesting. And are you guys working on a deal together, or was it?
And I've been I spoke with him this morning. He wants to finance a deal through us. Just waiting on some things to kind of get in line. But yeah, he tried buying a property out in New Mexico. I think he paid $2,500, $3,000 for it and got screwed. So
wow.
Yeah, he was weary, rightfully so.
Dude, it's disappointing. I think there are some bad actors out there that definitely kind of cast doubt in buyers' minds just because they've got ill intent. And I think there's a lot of room for people to make terrible mistakes. And that's why, like, first things first, if you're doing business, you got to be leading with integrity, especially a business like this where we're not meeting the people face to face. You're having to build trust through the phone or digitally. Yeah, it's really, really important to ensure that at every step in the process, you are leading with integrity, and ultimately it'll pay dividends in the long run. So
yeah, and that's kind of the name of the game, right? Is when you say leading with integrity, our purpose is to sell undervalued land.
Yeah.
Right. So we're trying to offer value by doing that. The whole idea of the business is offering value to the buyer and leading with integrity. So yeah, you're exactly right.
Dude, straight up. So I know you and I take slightly different approaches to selling land, so I think it's going to be an interesting discussion. And actually, if you can see back there, I've kind of got, in essence, a really simple funnel broken down. And this is really kind of the backbone of my business. And we'll touch on how yours might differ a little bit. But for me, When it comes to selling property, it's pretty much going to be via the land.com network or the MLS. It's going to be like the top of funnel. But Facebook, we're kind of implementing. We'll touch on that in a little bit.
Bring that down a little bit, Sumner.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So this is the top of funnel, right? This is where we get a big, like, this is where everyone starts, right? This is where the biggest number lies. There's, hundreds or thousands of people. I think this year we've gotten like 3,000 some odd leads. We've only done like a little under 200 deals. So obviously a lot of those leads don't convert. So the funnel that we take them through, someone sends in an inquiry, someone opts in, push them into our CRM, right? And we just have that automated. So boom, they pop into our CRM. I think if you're doing this business at any level, I talked to someone last night, a previous like kind of coaching student. His name's Levi. He does about 12 deals a year. And I think even if you're doing 12 deals a year, you need a CRM. You have to have it. It's the backbone of your business, not only for sellers, but I think more so for buyers. I think sellers could live in an Excel sheet. Buyers, you need to sprinkle in some automation. You need to keep notes on them. You need to see the history of communication. And I think a lot of times those relationships can mature and can take a long time to get them to the finish line. Sellers, yes, that can be true, but usually it's a little more binary. Yes, they're going to do the deal. No, they're not.
Right.
You get a lot of gray area, folks, when it comes to buyer leads, and you think you need to kind of mature that relationship. So that's like kind of top of funnel. They go into our CRM, they get an automated text, automated email. Essentially, it's just going to be kind of setting the frame of saying, hey, we're going to call you here shortly. I'm also going to send you an email going over kind of like property description. And really that initial email is just kind of regurgitating the initial listing. But what I found is people typically don't read, unfortunately. So they need it to be just reaffirmed. So then we're going to send that custom email, which is going to have like the listing description. We're going to give them a call. This is all going to happen on day one. Custom email, call. If they don't pick up, we're going to leave a voicemail. Then they're going to get put on like an auto drip email sequence, and we're going to keep on calling until we get a hold of them. Mm-hmm. That's kind of my funnel. Curious to see or hear what your funnel looks like relative to this.
Yeah, no, that's very similar to what I do. And ultimately, it all should funnel into our website, right? So whether we get the lead from Facebook, whether we get it from land.com or Craigslist, Zillow, whatever it is, it ultimately should always funnel down into our website or, eventually to buy the property, hopefully. Yeah. But so we do a lot on Facebook. So I'll start with Facebook. It's a free way to do it. So we post out on Marketplace and we'll go everywhere across the country. So if I'm selling a property in Colorado, I'm going to post that property in all 50 states if I can, because there's a buyer out there. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're in New York, you might like the idea of owning a property in Southern Colorado. So we're going to post it out there. And we do get good leads from it. A lot of bad leads, but we get leads. So, and the goal, right, on a surface level is to always get some form of contact, whether it be an email address or a phone number. Phone number is preferred. Email address is 90% of the time what we're going to get. Yeah. Similar to you, we take that, we go straight into our CRM. And what I found about a lot of these buyers is they want to own the land and they have questions about the land, but they don't know how to ask it. Right? Or they don't know what they don't know, so they don't even know what to ask. So, right, so they do go on a drip system for us, and we try and follow up. Hey, can I answer any questions? Can I walk you through the process? Do you have any questions about the building restrictions, whatever it is? So our drip system is usually just trying to help them, because a lot of times they need this help and they just don't know it. So that's mainly our goal once they get into our CRM. If we get a phone number, we're usually pounding the phones every few days, trying to get them on the phone rather than email. Email's easy to disregard. Again, once we get them on the phone, they realize, oh yeah, I did reach out to you. I am interested in this lot. And here are my questions. They forget a lot of times and they need to be reminded. So if we could get them a phone, email. And then again, it might take a month once we get their phone or email for them to feel comfortable with us or to be knowledgeable enough about the land that they ultimately decide, okay, yes, I'm ready to buy this piece of land or whatever it is.
It's a really, really good point that you bring up. And I think One of the fatal flaws that I made for a long time, and I reckon a lot of other people are in the same boat, is that they assume that the buyer knows more than they know, and they ask really open-ended questions which support that belief, right? What questions do you have? Well, the buyer doesn't know what questions they have, right? Instead, you say, hey, what are you looking to do on the property? That's a question that they can answer. And then that's something that you can actually take and run with, and maybe even use that as a way to kind of paint the picture of why this is the perfect property, or maybe why this isn't a good fit for them. But I think that's like one of the things that you have to do as you mature in your dispositions game, is just come at it from the approach that these people don't know the questions to ask, and you need to be the guide on their journey. It goes a long way. Because I used to play the game of like, what questions do you have? And then no one would respond. And I'm like, well, that's an open-ended question. Why? Like, they should all respond to that, but most don't, because they just don't know what to ask.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I also think too, for me starting out, and I think for a lot of people, they can be a little shy to hop on the phones. It's fantastic for the buyer. Most real estate agents are going to give them that service. Most people are going to give them that service. The reason being is most real estate agents just don't have the margin in those smaller deals to support giving them a bespoke experience that they deserve. Right. But I also think on the flip side for us, you can qualify or disqualify much faster on the phone than you ever could banging out emails. And while an email sounds simple, what happens is if you get in this email chain back and forth going, and sending messages to each other, that could have been done on a 5-minute phone call. It's going to tell you next steps or what you need to do. That getting caught in the text or email thread game is dangerous with buyers.
Yeah, I've also found, I'm curious to see if you've thought this at all. I think that the longer I go on in the email thread, the more credibility I lose, I think. Because not only am I just somebody that's kind of just hounding them, following up, it's also, if they say they respond to me and I, answer their question, they respond to me again, I answer the question. Now it's more, they're less dealing with the company and they're more just dealing with me one-on-one. And if they start to question like, well, hold on a second. Am I just buying land from some random guy? I don't know if you ever experienced that, but I do think that the longer this email thread goes on, the less credibility I have.
Yeah.
Right. Rather, when I get them on the phone and I'm excited to help them. I answer any questions they have. I tell them all the deals that we've bought or sold in the last month. They then are excited to buy the land and they trust us. And it's so much more helpful.
No, I agree. Well, I also think it sets a precedent too. Like, you're the guy that's available to answer questions through email or text at any hour of the day. That's something that I've even had to get better at. It's like, dude, if someone emails me at 8:00 at night, I don't need to respond because I don't want to set that precedent. That's how we do business, right? And then, I think you kind of become a bit of a doormat. I also think too, one of like the unspoken truths of really anything when it comes to sales and negotiation is just the power of tonality, right? And so when you can get on the phone with someone, they can hear the excitement. It really goes a long way. And I just don't think you can really deliver that in the email. One of the things that I introduced about a year ago, which has made a huge difference in my business, is we try not to send emails. We try to send videos embedded in emails. So that's a really good way for me to show my character, to show tonality, to show excitement, to show that I'm a real person. Similar to a phone call, it's just, if I don't have the phone number, it's a good way to get around it. It's also a good way to send mass communication if we're going to do it through email. So if I want to send like an update, I can drop it through email with a video and send it to hundreds or dozens of people. But I think, what we're getting at here is that buyers will drag you around if you're not leading that conversation. And the way that we can lead that conversation is by getting them on the phone or getting them in a format where it's optimal. Videos are kind of the second best, I would say there. But the other thing is you need to be leading by asking the right questions and by being essentially a leader or a guide for them. Because more times than not, you are dealing with a first-time land buyer, or maybe you are dealing with someone that's bought land in the past, but they may have never done it through a stranger that they just found online, right? Like maybe they bought a piece of property from their cousin Larry or the adjacent lot to their house or whatever it may be. And so, I think it goes a long way to really show up and lead. And more than anything, like I almost dislike the word sales in this respect because you're not really doing selling, right? Like you're more of like a consultant or something. Like you're kind of working with them. You're not trying to push something to them. Like you're just working with the team. I think that reframe goes a long way. I don't think you could ever sell someone a property, right? Like they're going to make up their mind either way. You can just present the facts and then they can make a decision off of that.
Yeah.
So your experience with Facebook, what's that been like? Because it's something that I hem and haw about adding back into my business. It sounds like you're having pretty good success with it. How many deals?
Yeah. So we didn't have great success until we started systematizing all of the leads. So at first it was when we get an email, we're just going to shoot in the information about the lot and they buy it or they don't. Well, nobody's going to buy that lot. They never will. Maybe
out of 250 leads, it's a laydown.
Yeah. So now, we've systematized a little bit more. So our follow-ups are a little bit more dialed in. A lot of trying to get them on the phone, and it's been much, much better. And, again, if I get a lead today, that might not convert for 3 to 4 weeks on average. So all those emails that we got a month ago are going to start, coming to fruition now. So it's been pretty good, I think, in the next couple of weeks, because really we started heavy on Facebook about a month ago. So I think from now to the next 2 weeks, we'll start getting a lot of those buyers interested and, ready to actually purchase a lot. So.
Yeah. So I think that's something that's worth speaking on is that, occasionally you are going to have a lead that engages with you and they are just ready to do the deal, whether it's that property in particular, and they're just so passionate about it. It's just such a good deal. They have to jump on it. Or maybe you don't realize this, but they've been researching land in that area for the last 6 months and this was the right time, right?
Yeah, and that's usually the case right there.
Yeah. And so, beautiful when that works out, really far from the norm. The norm is the lead reaches out, we have a discussion, they think about it, we have maybe another discussion, they see our emails, they go back to our website, they see another posting from us, then they call us and they say, Sumner, I'm ready to do the deal. That could be 90 days later, right? Or they want to do a different deal.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I had to reframe for myself is that, again, you're not selling to these people. Someone doesn't come in, you're not trying to force that property down their throat. You're honestly just trying to build some level of connection, some relationship. Yeah. And then what you're doing is, if you've built out an ecosystem where they're going to still be seeing pieces from you and you're going to be what I call omnipresent, right? They're going to see you with the weekly deal emails. They're going to see new postings on your website. They might even still see you on land.com in that same market, wherever they're looking. Like, if you can keep on showing up, it makes a huge difference. So what have you found? Like, what's your typical turnaround time from when a lead reaches out to getting a deal closed? We're talking weeks, months?
Yeah, well, I think we have to split it up between a land.com lead and a Facebook lead. Okay. Land.com lead, I think, are pretty quick. I should have this exact number, but I would say from the day they reach out to us, obviously there's still people that have yet to buy land, right? So those aren't taken into account. But from the people that have actually bought land from us, from land.com, it's got to be under 2 weeks. Maybe less, maybe under a week. Because those people are ready. They're ready to buy. They clearly are researching that market. All they need is, how does the process work directly with you guys rather than another investor or whatever it may be? And they're usually ready to buy. On the marketplace side, we're probably looking at about, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks on average. And again, there's still probably hundreds of people that have yet to buy from us. So that number could be dragged out farther once they eventually purchase a lot. Yeah. But right now, I think probably 3 to 4 weeks if we're going through Facebook, and then less than a week on land.com. Is that similar to what you have, or is that?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, land.com is a little bit longer. I would say land.com is probably closer to like 3 to 4 weeks. Now, Facebook, I haven't experimented enough with it. On the flip side, what I've noticed from like flat fee MLS leads that we get, those ones are instant. Those ones are like, I mean, it's talking, we're getting the paperwork signed that day or that week. So I have found the most motivated folks through the MLS. And I think the typical structure that I've run into on there is they've engaged a agent to go find them a deal. So they've got a buyer's agent and they usually contact us. And then they're pretty proficient at getting the deal done. So you're not doing a lot of hand holding or explaining. The realtor's done other real estate transactions before, hopefully. So they usually know how to get the ball rolling. And then, obviously their client that they're representing, they might have been looking for months. And so there's usually a lot of intent to get the deal done quickly there.
Yeah.
Those are also different kinds of deals though. And so this is something that's really worth noting, is that there's deals out there where you're truly passing off equity to someone else. And those are the deals where it's like, you bought it for 10, the property's worth 50, you're selling it for 30. Someone sees that and they're savvy with the market, they're going to jump on it.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, the properties we sell, though, there's a lot of education behind it. You might be selling property in a county that no one's ever heard of, that buyer hasn't heard of. They more times than not live in a different state than where that property is located. And they have a faint idea of what they want to do on the land. They might have a faint idea of what property values are in the area, maybe. But in those cases, you're doing a lot more hand holding. And those are typically more so the land.com leads that we get. And notice we get people on land.com. My assumption is they're searching by state. And then because we're typically like one of the cheapest in the entire state, they reach out to us. They probably don't know where the property sits, what subdivision it's in, and even the county. Yeah. Those deals take longer. So I would say on average, land.com for us, for the kind of property types that we're selling on there, usually 3 to 4 weeks. MLS, usually about a week. And I'll have to correct you on Facebook. I'm not sure yet, although I just got a new Facebook lead while we're on this call. So we're adding him to the CRM right now.
Yeah, and I bet if you took a snapshot, if 12 months from now, if I took a snapshot of my business, your numbers are probably close to what they're actually going to be. Right. Because there's a lot of leads that haven't come to fruition yet that will eventually extend that timeline of how long it takes. So.
Yeah, I agree. So one of the things too that's really helped in my business is sorting leads based on engagement, and then allowing that to dictate who gets follow up and who maybe gets pushed to the wayside, right? So we've got these built-in kind of automated drip sequences that go out, and those sequences gives us insight into who's engaging and how much they're engaging. And we can look at that by opens, by clicks in the email if there's links, and then the overall consistency of opens, right? If we send an email every day, are they opening every single email? Or did they open the first 2 and then the last 6, they got tired of us and they haven't opened up any of those? To me, that shows a lot of intent. And so those are the leads that we usually want to update their stage, and then they're going to get different follow-up, right? If we get, 300 leads a month or 400 leads a month or whatever it may be, there's just too many people to follow up with. It's just way too much. So what we got to do is we got to allow some of them to move through that automated sequence, see who's engaging the most, and then follow up from there. Is that similar to what you do, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, we're going to be a little bit different because you probably have 10 times the amount of buyers leads that we do right now. Yeah. But we do filter them by cold, warm, and hot lead. And depending on where we get them and you can kind of get a sense, right, when a buyer reaches out, how interested they are, how ready they are to buy. So depending on where we get them, like if they're coming from land.com, they're most likely going to be a hot or a warm lead right off the bat. If they're coming from a Facebook, they're most likely going to be a cold lead. And then we will progress them through those stages. If they then reach back out and say, if we shoot them an email with information and then they respond to it saying, okay, how does the financing work? They're probably going to go up to a warm lead.
Yeah.
But right now, they are filtered by cold, warm, and hot. Does it change the follow-up that they get? Not really, other than the sense that I'm probably a little bit more invested in the hot leads, right? I probably spend a little bit more time on them right now and make sure they're probably followed up with a little bit more often. Yeah. And the cold leads are they still get followed up with, just a little bit less often. Probably a different type of follow-up.
It's probably a more automated follow-up than something kind of bespoke to their situation.
Yeah, more "Hey, are you interested?" More along those lines.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about kind of the more of the marketing side of things. I think we did a good job dissecting how we're doing the sales side of the business right now. Truth be told, though, there's different schools of thought out there. Some folks just want to post a listing that's super nondescript, a little ambiguous, price is right, pictures are good, and they're assuming, hey, we're just going to get a ton of people that opt in from that, and then we can lead the conversation from there. There's other sides of the camp that say we want to have the most detailed listing possible and allow that to be kind of a filter for who's right. The reality is I just don't think leads read in general, really anyone. So it doesn't really matter what school of thought you fall into. Let's just assume that most people aren't reading. I still fall into the camp of let's try to put as much information in the listing as possible. So I'm curious, for your listings, what are you doing there? Is it about the
Yeah, we're probably, I would say we're more on the camp of let's put as much information as possible. We probably don't do as much as we could. And here's the reality of it, right? If I put even a land.com listing, but really Facebook, let's say I put a Facebook listing that says 5 acres in Costilla County, Colorado for $6,000. I get people that reach out to me and say, how much is this? How big is it? And where is it? So it doesn't matter how detailed you make it. You're always going to have people that don't read, or they just need you to tell them anyway. So, we could make ours more detailed, but it's a good way to filter buyers and qualify them before you get on the phone with them, if they've read it or not. And I think you're probably more on the camp of let's make it more detailed as possible, right?
Yeah, I think detail wins because you're right. I mean, it's a good instantly it's going to disqualify or qualify the person pretty much. Although I still have had leads that do deals that haven't read, but those are still can be painful deals to move through. So it's not always worth it. But yeah, I mean, I just think about it from the perspective of if I was in the market to buy land, what would I want, right? And maybe I would read a third of it. Maybe I wouldn't read any of it. I don't really know. But I think I would feel comfortable knowing that I could reference it or that all the information was there. I just think it adds an air of legitimacy. And this has always been my approach: is that we want to have the customer service, we want to have the brand of a big company, but when someone speaks to us, we want it to feel like they're just talking to their friend or somebody, just a guy. So to kind of achieve that, I think you've got to put up listings that give that sense of being professional. But I haven't split tested enough to fully know if that's true, right? I see ads all the time where it's maybe they're only Billy Land is a huge player in the space, and I see his listings on a lot of the listing websites, and it's just this property has a free and clear title. I think that's the only thing.
That's it. And people don't seem to care. They buy it anyway.
Yeah. But, again, the guy's been in the space for a long time. So the brand is a little more sophisticated, a little more built out. But, hey, maybe he knows something that we don't know. So maybe it's worth further. I don't know. And I've seen some other people kind of fall in that bandwagon, especially on Facebook. I'll go and kind of creep around and see what other people are posting. And I do see that being a common theme where people will just have a one-liner or two-liner, and that's it. I think it just becomes you're filtering through so much junk at that point. I would rather try to have what I call decision walls that weed people out. So that's a good one in my opinion. You're just going to weed out some of the people that have no interest because they're going to reach out and they're going to be like, I wanted to put up a casino on this property. I can't do that. You're like, well, no, it's done residentially.
Yeah.
And
I like when you say, let's list it as if I'm the buyer, right? What do I want to hear? And there's usually, depending on where you are, there's going to be probably, let's say, 2 different buyer pools. One is going to be the person who wants to buy to actually build. And the other person is, let's just buy it. I want to own a piece of land. Southern Colorado sounds nice. Maybe I'll go with my family once a year, whatever. So on one end, you need to put, is it zoned residential? What's the minimum square footage? Stuff like that people, if you're coming in to buy, you need to know those things before. And then on the other hand, if they're just going to buy and hold it, use it, let's try and paint them a picture. You could camp here. You can spend summers with your family. Taxes are low. Holding costs are low. So I think it's important to have both sides. There's obviously different ways to do it, but.
Dude, that brings up a good question. So how much of your listing is the emotional storytelling side versus the very practical information?
I thought it would be, how much of my listing? It's probably split half and half. I probably have 2 good paragraphs to start it off with. Let's paint a story of what you could do here. And the rest is more technical. Here's the property, here's the acreage, zoning, use type, dirt road, everything like that. What does yours look like?
I would say the same. I still think there's room for improvement with our listings in terms of providing even more detail. I think we've got the story side. I think we're good there. I don't think we need to spend too much more time on it, but I think I could get more tactical with just covering every piece of possible information that you could have.
Yeah, it'll never deter. Too much detail will never deter somebody.
Yeah,
It might have them ask you more questions because they didn't read it all, but it'll never deter them, right? If you look at somebody like Landio, who's one of the biggest players in this space, their listings are absurdly long.
Yeah,
right. Like if you actually read that whole listing, you are a qualified buyer. Right? So maybe not to go to that extent, but along those lines of if they really want to buy it, they'll read through the whole thing.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, it's a good litmus test right off the bat. Well, shoot, what else should we discuss in terms of marketing and sales on the disposition side?
I think that's probably pretty good. Why don't we just just talk about something that either deals that we currently have or deals that are coming up, and if anybody's watching that is interested, then this might be a good way to kind of showcase the deals.
Yeah, so I'll pop on my screen and then you can pop on your screen. We've got some exciting stuff in the hopper. We've got a lot of Colorado inventory coming up. A lot of it's not listed just quite yet, but here we are on the site. This is a really good deal, and I'm actually surprised this one hasn't been purchased yet. This is out in Deer Valley Meadows in Alamosa County. This is right outside of the town of Alamosa, though. It's like 10 miles outside of the town. This is in Unit 2, which Deer Valley Meadows is spliced into 3 units. One of the few properties that can actually have a well drilled on it. And if you go to like Zillow, if you go to any of the other listings, even land.com, this one's the cheapest out there by a mile. See Blanca Peak from the property. A lot of the ones that I was seeing out there are listed at like $7,000 to $8,000 to $10,000. Some of them are even $12,000, which is to me just kind of crazy. So $4,900 or $199 down, $200 a month. That's a screaming hot deal. We also just put up this 10.4 acre lot out in Costilla, $9,700 or $499 down, $287 a month for 50 months. I mean, come on, like where are you getting 10 acres for $499? It's a pretty insane deal. This is what I call classic recreational land. There's neighbors over here. I think Power is kind of parked by their property, but odds of you running it to this lot are kind of unlikely. Here's the Rio Grande River. I mean, you could walk to the Rio Grande from this property. I think the play here is, again, recreational, maybe setting up solar. I would have like a water catchment system, or you could do water delivery. I wouldn't even mess with drilling a well on something like this. And you're buying under market, right? Like this is probably a $15,000 to $16,000 property retail. You could buy it cash for $9,700. So pretty safe buy. Beautiful area, southern part of Colorado. You're looking at the Sangre de Cristos from the property. It's just nice, man. I mean, it's for me. I'm partial. I like southern Colorado. I think it's a beautiful area. And we've also got these lots out in Otero County, a little spot called Timbron. Smaller lots. These are like 1/3 of an acre to 1/2 an acre, but they're so dang cheap. I mean, you can buy these things from our site for $2,400, $2,000. And we're selling a couple of these things a week. We sold 2 yesterday. I mean, there's people are kicking down our door to get them because it's such a good deal. A lot of these lots have availability of utilities. There's a little airstrip in Timbron that you can land at. There's a 9-hole golf course. Like it's a great area. It's in the Sacramento Mountain Range, and you can finance it for $1 down. I mean, it's just insane. $1 down, $99 a month, 40 months. These are the kind of deals to me which are just such a good beginner property to start with. There's no lose, right? Like you look at these properties on Zillow or any of the retail listing sites, people are out to lunch, man. $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 just doesn't even make sense. So that's kind of what I would advise for any folks that are looking to get started. Those are some good properties to look at. Mike, what do you got on your end?
Yeah, let me present here. All right. Yeah, so as always, we're in Costilla County. We've got a few properties out here. I think we're sitting on about 7 or 8 right now. They're all about 5-acre parcels. Anywhere from $5,500 to $6,500 is the cash price for these, depending on how good the road access is and how close they are to the mountain range. Really is going to be the deciding factor. We just lowered the finance option. All right, so Sumner gave me a hard time for this the other day, but we're now at $199 down and then either 162 a month or 202 a month, depending on, how long you want the term to be.
Let's just do some quick math, right? Like if someone's buying a Frappuccino from Starbucks or even a nice latte every day, call it $5 a day. That's $150 a month someone's spending on coffee.
Right. For the price of a 5-acre lot in Colorado.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
It's a good deal.
Yeah. So you just lowered the finance price yesterday. So I would imagine these are going to start selling pretty quickly. We've got a ton of interest just from the past couple of days. And then still, cash price of $5,500. We're probably one of the lowest ones in that area. Yeah, I think there's maybe one or two lower, but they're smaller parcels. So we're probably the lowest on the cash price and one of the lowest on the finance options too. So we have a few of these out here in Colorado. They all have views like this. All have legal road access going to the lots, platted road access. So we have that now. Upcoming is going to be Angel Fire, New Mexico, which I'll just show from a Google Earth image. Beautiful. Super cool area. It's in northern New Mexico. It's it's known for its ski resort. It's one of the last in the country, I guess. It's not overrun by tourists. So 18-hole golf course right in here. You have the Angel Fire Ski Resort over on this side here. It's in the northern part of New Mexico. Super, super beautiful area. So we'll post those probably in the next couple weeks or so, and the next week or so. So look out for those.
What kind of price range are you going to be at on those?
We're going to be anywhere from about $12,000 to, we have a 5-acre that's going to be listed probably around $50,000. So depending on, $12,000 is kind of going to be your entry level price in this area. If you look on Zillow for a same size lot, they're probably selling for $25,000 to $30,000. So we are so under market value here. We want to turn these pretty quickly. And then after this, the next couple of weeks, we talked about in the last podcast, but we'll be in Deltona, Florida. First time being in Florida. That'll probably be a few weeks down the line, but keep an eye out for those. Again, those are in the price range of anywhere from $35,000 to $50,000. It's right outside Orlando, still pretty close to the beach on the East Coast. But yeah, that's it on our end. We'll be posting Angel Fire in Deltona in the next couple weeks, and in Costilla County, we just lowered our prices, so go check those out.
Dude, exciting. TheLandStation.com or TheLandPioneer.com. Very similar names, different websites, similar deals, both out of this world. I think it's going to do it for us today. I appreciate everyone sticking around. If you guys have any questions or contact info is down below. Get in touch with us. We love talking about this stuff, as you can tell. We do these every single week on Wednesday. Be sure to subscribe, and you will not miss any future videos. Any parting words, Michael?
No, always a pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Boom.
See ya.